Okay, let's see if I got things working right here. I'm going to talk to you about Papua New Guinea. The last time we went to Papua New Guinea was in the fall of 2019. Nobody had ever heard of COVID-19 in November of 2019. And when you cross the Pacific Ocean westbound, you miss a day. The day we missed was Thanksgiving Day. We took off from Los Angeles on Wednesday evening, late in the evening. We crossed the Pacific Ocean to Brisbane, Australia. And when we landed, it was Friday morning. So the day we missed, and it was a 14-hour flight. It wasn't like it was 36 hours or something. It was 14 hours. But when you cross the international date line going west, you miss a day. But cheer up. When you cross it coming back east, you get to live the same day twice. So, and we've done that sometimes. So anyhow, most of these pictures, I'm going to give you a little bit of history of our ministry in Papua New Guinea. And as it is right now, almost every day we have feedback from people in Papua New Guinea. I've had some today. I've had like Facebook chat stuff back and forth today. And almost every day we get feedback from people we've worked with in Papua New Guinea. And God has used us to make a great difference in a lot of lives, and we're thankful for that. This picture was taken way up in the highlands of New Guinea, and early morning fog there below the mountains, and this was close to a place named Pababrook, which was one of the earliest missionary stations in the highlands of New Guinea in about 1948. Here's a map so you can kind of see where Papua New Guinea is. I'm not used to using this little pointer, but I'll point it. This big continent here is Australia. New Guinea is this island here, both halves of it, and that's the second largest island in the world. We're going to have a little geography lesson here now, because some of you have forgotten since you went to school 45 years ago or something. And so the largest island in the world is, anybody know what the largest island in the world is? Greenland. It's Greenland. Why isn't Australia considered to be the largest island in the world? It's a continent, just like North America is a continent. And we see Australia on a map with water all around it, and it makes it look small. Right there beside the oceans and things, it looks small, but Australia is almost as wide as the United States. And so it's a big country. We have flown on a jet airplane. We've flown across from over in there, across there, and you fly for hours across the outback where you don't see anything. And once in a while, you see what looks like a little fire or something. You think, must be some sheep herders are out there keeping watch of their flock by night, because there's nothing else to see. But anyhow, Australia, or the eastern half of the second largest island in the world, is Papua New Guinea. Over here, the star is the capital city of Papua New Guinea, and the capital city is not connected by roads to any other cities in the country. So you can drive out along the coast that way a little bit and up into the mountains there, but where we live most of the time is in and around Goroka, which is up in the highlands. And from there to there, in a straight line, is about 250 or 260 miles, and the kind of miles we're used to using. So anyhow, it's a big country, and it includes these other little islands. This is East New Britain and West New Britain. This is New Ireland. This is Bougainville and Buka and Manus Island up there. And so there's lots, and 1,300 other little islands. So it's a real island country, and that's where we've lived more than 10% of our life, Papua New Guinea. One of the first people that the first year we were there, we got acquainted with Hannah, and some of you remember Hannah. She's been here with us, I'm pretty sure. Anybody remember Hannah? I taught her to fly,
And people tell us, or we were told, that she was the 7th Papua New Guinea woman to have a pilot's license. And she doesn't have an airplane, so she isn't flying now, but she's involved in Christian education. And I feel like I'm thankful that, you know, I've tried a lot of things that didn't work out in my life, but I taught my children the importance of Christian education, and right now most of them are involved in Christian education. You know what's wrong with the United States of America? Secular education. So, anyhow, this is Hannah's family. This was taken the day we arrived there the last time. This was Friday, the day after our Thanksgiving in 2019. That's Hannah way over on the left, if I can get my finger on the pointer here. That's Hannah. And this girl is named Crystal Dawn, named after her grandmother. So, my Crystal. So there we are with our grandchildren. And this is, gotta think of his name. Maxwell and Crystal. This little guy is named D.L. Moody. So they named him after the great preacher D.L. Moody, and that one is named Saroa. And they have another sister who's not in this picture. She's a special needs girl named Barbara. And she was named after one of the missionaries. She was named after a missionary that we were in Bible college with back in the 60s. And she was born on Christmas morning. And she was born on Christmas morning in 2014. We were in Papua New Guinea at that time. And Hannah called me and said, I've got a Christmas present for you. And it was Barbara. So anyhow, this is Hannah's family. One of the families in whose lives we made a great impact by the help of God. When we arrived there, then she had already asked us ahead of time. She is the operator of a little Christian school called Lighthouse Christian Academy, and she wanted me to speak in the graduation class of the ABCs of ACE graduation. And it's not unusual. I don't think I have the pictures here, but it's not unusual for missionaries to speak in some place where the other speaker might be a parliament member or somebody like that. And that's how it was this day. But there's a great emphasis and an acceptance among lots of people of Christian education, and lots of the schools use the ACE program, Accelerated Christian Education.
The children are from the kind of homes they're from.
Yeah, a lot of these kids were like homeless kids, and they build these settlements out of cardboard boxes or crates, pallets, anything they can get their hands on. They build these little shacks around, and in the edges of towns and things, and then every once in a while the government will try to go to move them on, but they don't have any place to go. And Hannah, if I say the name of a whole bunch of kids, you'll know it's because I had a whole bunch of kids. And so Hannah went out in the streets and gathers these people together, and they're not all homeless people, but lots of them are, and she teaches them to read and teaches them the ways of the Lord. And it's amazing what she's been able to do. And now this is coming down into Goroka, the town in which we live when we're in Papua New Guinea most of the time. And that's not all of it right there. But you can see lots of metal roofs around the towns. But if you get out away from the towns, the roofs are mostly still grass roofs. They call them kunai roof. And it's a beautiful sight. I don't think I have a picture like this, but early in the morning, they'll be in their little hut, which is a kunai house, with a fire inside. And the smoke will be oozing up through the grass roof and sort of mixing with the fog. It's kind of a pretty scene there. And and Goroka is surrounded by high mountains. Goroka is 5,200 feet above sea level, about the elevation as Denver. and around it are mountains going up to about 11 to 12,000. And then this was at another graduation a few days later at the Bethany International Christian Academy in Goroka, which the graduation was being held in a Nazarene church. And so I was one of the speakers in that as well. I don't think I have a picture of this other woman here. I don't. She came to me, or we went down to her school, and she said, she saw that I was still involved in Christian education, and she said, as long as my missionary, David Hersman, can be involved in Christian education, I'm going to be involved in it too. And so this is the fruits of her labor. And they had, you can see me sitting up front, and there was some other woman there to speak, and some other men as well. And a pastor we hadn't gotten acquainted with, but you'll see him later, and he was sitting there beside me. And after I spoke, he said, "You took my message." I said, "Well, I've got my notes if you want to take mine." But actually, we didn't know this guy before. His name is Pastor Richard, but I became really a good friend with him. And we stayed in their home part of the time. But this, the emphasis on Christian education is good in Papua New Guinea. And these little girls were, one of them looks like she's part Filipino or something, but the other one was Papua New Guinean, and they kept watching me where I was seated before the service started, so I took their picture. This young lady with Crystal is named Lily. She's about early 40s now, and we've known her since she was about 18. She came to visit us, and after that, Lily has been involved in almost everything we did in Papua New Guinea. If we had services in the park, she was one that was there. If we had services in our home, she was one that was there. She just was totally involved. She plays the guitar. She could lead, has a good bit of leadership ability. And then you're going to see some pictures. She took my camera and she went around this yard at this place. In Papua New Guinea, there's flowers in every direction. Everywhere you look, you can see flowers. I don't think I've ever been where you could turn in any direction without seeing some flowers there, unless it was sort of a slum or a marketplace or something. But anyhow, all year round. Now she went around, she took pictures of about 15 or 16 different flowers in that yard. And I just put 4 of them on here, but this is how colorful it is here. And so we love flowers, and somebody commented about us. They said, well, every time they put their picture on Facebook, they're with flowers in the background. Well, it's a good background. So now this is Pastor Richard and his wife Jaylene, and this is me at on Christmas time that year. They had me preach a couple nights, or 3 maybe, and this is a church that we helped start in 2009. And in December of 2009, we went out in a stream there and we baptized about 19 young people. And some of them are still serving the Lord. It was a great time. Now, Pastor Richard was not there then, and I don't think he's there now, but we got acquainted with him. And this lady here, we could tell you some really some fantastic stories about her, but I'll tell you this. Crystal said to me, she said, "You know that scripture that says it's better to live in the wilderness than with a brawling woman in a wide house?" She said that scripture has taken on new significance to me since we've been here. And that woman, she's sugar-coated. She's sweet-looking. She can be as nice as can be. She never attacked us, but we were the exception. And one time she was about to strike her little stepson or somebody with this plastic chair, and she had it back over her head, and I was back there, so I took a hold of it.
and I said, Jaylene, just sit down and cool off, and she was angry. Another time, she got a knife and went looking for her husband. And so we had some exciting experiences there, but pray for her. I don't know where she is or if these two are still together. I need to ask Richard in a text or a chat, but he does communicate with us, and he is really a great man of God. He was trained by missionaries, and some missionaries that we know. Christelle's got a friend, the Rashes. This guy was trained by Tanya Rash's parents, and he really absorbed a lot. He has a deeper understanding of spiritual things than a lot of Papua New Guineans, or a lot of Americans for that matter. A lot of times people just have a surface knowledge, but he understands more in the depth of what it's all about. And so anyhow, we really appreciated his ministry while we were there and shared in the ministry with him. So pray for Jaylene. And now, I think I'll let Crystal, if you can tell a short story. Can you tell a short story? This is Helena. And Crystal will tell you how, just tell a little bit how you met Helena and brought her home with you.
Shortly before Christmas, I had met this other little girl named Elizabeth that lived close to us, and we were walking up this road, and up at the corner there would be like maybe some things for sale, some little things or something that market type things like some bananas or maybe avocados or peanuts down. The ladies would be sitting down there to sell, and I thought I'll go up to the corner, and then there was also this place where they had a little tent like, and they would sell cookies or I thought I'll just go up and see what's there today. Elizabeth was going with me, and we were walking up the road talking, and from the side this girl came out and started walking with us, and I said, oh hi, and I said, what's your name? And she told me Helena, and so we started talking, and she could speak English well, and we talked to some, and she said that, I said, what grade are you in? She said, I'm not in school anymore because my dad passed away, and I lived with my grandpa, and he helped me go to school, and now my grandpa passed away too. So she said, my mom's remarried to a guy, and I guess the guy she had married was, he would drink and stuff and didn't really care for her that much, so didn't worry about getting her an education. But we walked on up to the corner, and then we were coming back down, and I told her, I said, my husband would like to meet you. I said, he loves Papua New Guineans, and I'm sure he'd like to meet you. And David had said to me before, he had said, Crystal, we usually had a young girl or some young girls that would come to our house and help us with some things. And I told him, I said, David, those girls grew up and they got married and they got kids of their own. They don't have time to come and help us anymore. And we lived in a different place too, so we didn't know a lot of the people right in that area. But Helena came home with me. She came up on the porch, and then you'd like to tell that part.
Okay.
David was standing
Chris,
up in her
when she was coming, Crystal was bringing her up the steps, and I thought, is this somebody I'm supposed to know? So I'm scrutinizing to see, is this somebody I knew as a child or what? Because, and when she got up on the porch, I knew by the way Crystal introduced her that she was somebody new to me. So she just stepped forward a couple steps and put her arms around me, and so she was just like a granddaughter from that time on. Now, I had been sick for a few days, or a couple days, or something, and I didn't feel real well. So it took me a little bit, a few days maybe, to get attached to her. But her at that time, her 15th birthday was coming up on December 30th. And she really had at the first time she came to our house, I think that's what she said. She told Grandma, she said, don't wash the clothes. She said, I'll come back tomorrow and help you with them. And then when we moved over to Pastor Richard's house, she would come all the way around the airport and get over there a little after 9 in the morning, walking, and she would come to our house and she'd say like, okay, what's the plan for the day? And just like, here I am, I'm your servant, I'm here to help you, and I'll do anything. And she did, and of course we tried to help her too. And I'll say something about that Christmas tree. That's our homemade Christmas tree. The Christmas trees they sell in the stores over there are sort of like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, if you know what I'm referring to. And that Christmas with the peanuts or something. And so I thought, I can make a better Christmas tree than that. They had garland for sale, this green garland. So we made our own Christmas tree. And if you want to know more about how we did that, you can watch on our YouTube channel. We have a 5 or 6 minute video of when we made this Christmas tree. And
another thing is, David forgot to take any neckties with him, and then they asked him to preach. And so, I guess Helena found out about that, and she went to the store and bought him 2 neckties and got them for him so he could have those to wear when he preached.
and here I am without a tie.
And I told her, I said, Helena, I said, if the Lord sent us over here for you, if we're just for you, I said, it's worth it, and we're glad we came. And I just felt like that God put her in our lives a couple days before Christmas, almost like an angel or something. I mean, I know she's not perfect, but we loved her, she loves us, and we still are close. Our hearts are still, yeah.
She said to Crystal, she said, Grandma, who's going to take care of you when you go back to the United States? And then in January of 2020, I was one of the speakers in this. This is actually a men's crusade or a men's retreat, but they were having an opening of a new church building that they had built. And so they invited the women to the evening services, but they came to all the services, just whatever they wanted to do. And so that was a blessed weekend, and Helena went up there with us. And this is a group of young people, or middle-aged people too, who got up and sang with us one night. That's Helena right there, and Crystal and I, and some other young people. And this is Pastor Napaya's wife. Napaya is a pastor that we had when we first went to New Guinea. That's his wife, Betty. But this was way up in the highlands of New Guinea, close to where that first picture with the fog in the valley was taken. This old guy came walking along the road with me one day after the morning service, and he told me his story, and he could speak good English for an old person. A lot of the old people don't speak English at all. They only speak their tribal language. They don't even know Pidgin. But this guy could speak good English, and we walked along, and he told me that he was orphaned at a young age, and the Bustons, Gerald Buston's parents, had taken him in as a child and taught him English and started schooling him back in the 1940s. And he's one of the few people from that period of time still living. The bag that I have on there is called a Beelum. And when they want to give you a nice gift, they give you one of these handmade Beelums. So that one, I had my Bible in it right then, but this was in that same area where the tent meeting was, and that was after one of those. And you can see those clouds again back there. And this is the new church building. They like to do everything with a lot of fanfare, so they decorate with balloons and crepe paper, whatever they can get, and a lot of vegetation and stuff, palms, and you can see that is Pastor Gideon and Crystal and I, when we had just cut the ribbon in order to open this new church building. And then February of 2019, or 2020, my 71st birthday, and Helena and another girl that was close to us were there that day. The other girl's name is Houston. Then that same month we had educational leadership training. This is one of the things that I've done a lot of in New Guinea, is have these educational leadership training sessions that go on for about 3 weeks. And this one I was going to do for 2 weeks, but a bunch of new people came the second week, so the third week I had to repeat what I'd done the first week. So anyhow, it went on for 3 weeks, and people have gone out from these educational leadership training things, And there's Christian schools being operated all over Papua New Guinea by these people who came to these training sessions, and we get feedback from them. And we showed you Hannah at the beginning. Rachel was in Papua New Guinea at the time these pictures were taken, so we didn't get to show you any pictures of her school, but she has a school in operation now in Port Moresby area. And so you'd be surprised how many of these people have gone out and made a difference in their communities and their villages with Christian schools. Here's the little Christian school we started in 2006, and this girl, Elizabeth, wasn't her name Elizabeth? She that is sitting there looking toward Crystal. She, not the little girl, but the woman. She and another guy, one behind her, they kept this little school open almost single-handedly, or with just the two of them, for a long time, and people don't pay consistently. Hey, if you've got money for food, you've got money to help give your kids a Christian education. And so, anyhow, we try to teach people the importance of teaching people what God's Word said to teach them. You know, God's Word's not silent about education. It says a lot about what to teach to children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep His commandments. And this was the new administrator that we, Sophie Ezekiel, we've known her for a quarter of a century, and so we got her that Bible, A Woman After God's Own Heart, and she was the administrator of our school there for a while. This is the school, the church that we started in 2009, or we helped start it, we didn't do it ourselves, and this picture was taken in 2020. And EBM stands for Evangelical Bible Mission. So that church is still going on there. Now, in the marketplace, this is what the marketplace looked like in Goroka in February 2020. And these marketplaces are really crowded places, people just elbow to elbow, selling all kinds of fruit and vegetables and things that they raise, or things that maybe are brought up from the lower coast areas. They might have watermelons and coconuts and things that don't grow too much at this elevation. But you can see the higher mountains back behind there, about 5,000 or 6,000 feet higher than the Goroka market. This is right adjacent to the airport. I want you to get a good look at it, because I'm going to show you the next picture was taken a month later after the COVID thing started. When the COVID fear came, the threat, and COVID didn't hit Papua New Guinea very hard, but they closed down the market, and a little later, and this is the same area. The picture's not taken from exactly the same spot, but the same area. And so it's just all gone, and that was empty. So they have at that church that I mentioned from 2009, they have a Bible school in operation named the Send Me Bible School. And so we were happy to get acquainted with a lot of the guys who were in the school, and Pastor Richard's right back in there. And there was a guy that was really close to us named Elijah. He's right there. But all of those guys were good fellows to work with, and we enjoyed that. Here's Pastor Richard again and his wife and some other little girl that I think was a niece or maybe just somebody from the church. But this picture was taken right around Christmas, I think, or in January, maybe January of 2020. And here is Helena again. And I can't say enough about her. You know, God wants you to have a servant's heart. And she is one of the people that God has blessed us with that probably had a servant's heart as much as anybody I've ever known. Just a willingness to help. And we had lots of funny times with her and lots of good times. And she'd play games with Crystal. Crystal likes to play different Uno and Phase 10 and all those things that I don't know how to play. But and she started calling us Grandma and Grandpa pretty soon. And that's just how we think of her. She's just like a grandchild to us. And so pray for Helena. Pray that she'd like to come over. And so then, because of the vaccine problem, or not the vaccine problem, the COVID problem, the airlines got shut down. We were scheduled to leave Papua New Guinea on March 24th and go to Australia and see our daughter Rachel. But, on 27th. On March 27th was when our tickets were for. But on March 24th, all the flights got canceled. They quit flying in and out of the country. And then on April 9th, the United States government made an evacuation flight out of Papua New Guinea, and we were on that flight. And so it was kind of a neat feeling to walk into this big lobby after flying down from Goroka and come into the big airport lobby at the only international airport in the country, and be greeted with the American flag and the Department of the Great Seal and so forth. And then we had a complication. Hannah's husband had tried to get us an extension on our visas and we paid fees to get an extension for 2 months. And as it turned out, we got a 30-day extension, but we thought it was a 60-day extension. And so we were over our stay in Papua New Guinea, and we didn't know it. And when they figured that out, somehow the PNG immigration took our passports. And so when we arrived here, just a little bit after this picture was taken, we were with the ambassadors and signing in and so forth, and we didn't have our passports. And so they knew what to do, though. They said, the main ambassador said, we will take you to the embassy and you'll fill out a form and we'll issue you an emergency passport. So they did that for Crystal and I, and they took us there, and that's what we were doing. In the meantime, the other assistant to that ambassador, he said, I will deal with the Papua New Guinea immigration and see what we can work out on this end. So they had for Crystal and I, they had 200 people to deal with on that airplane, and they're focusing their attention on getting us out there. But anyhow, they called us, and while we were filling out those forms, they called the other ambassador that was helping us, and they said, the immigration said they will bring the passports to the airport, and they'll have to deliver them to us personally. So mine to me and Crystal's to Crystal. And that ambassador told us later that he said, I asked these PNG immigration people, he said, I just want to know, can I get these people out of here today without paying a fine? And they said, you probably can, but when they come back in, they might have problems. And the ambassador said, we're taking them out. You know, we Americans, we criticize bureaucracy sometimes. But I'm going to tell you something, and in some cases, they'll go to bat for you. 10,000 miles away from home and not knowing whether we'd get to come home or not. But they told that guy, we're taking him out. And I've thought about that since then, how Jesus looks down upon us in this world, and there's things that grieve us as Christians. All kinds of things that are going on, and wars and rumors and wars and hatred and violence and all kinds of problems, you hear them in the news all the time. Someday, Jesus is going to look to the Father, and the Father's going to say, we're taking them out. And he's going to come back for us. And he's going to take us out of here. And we love Papua New Guinea. We look forward to going back. Right now the status is, because of viruses and masks and mandates and all this kind of stuff, we're waiting to see how that works out and when we'll be able to go back without a lot of complications. So just help us pray about that. But in the meantime, pray for the people that we've worked with in Papua New Guinea. Now this is in the waiting room. These are mostly Americans that were on that flight we were on, and it's the only time, in all the times we've gone to Papua New Guinea, it's the only time we were on the same airplane from the shores of New Guinea to the shores of the United States. The airplane made that flight. It landed in Solomon Islands, picked up about 6 people, but our next landing was in Hawaii. So then we got back on American soil and we saw bureaucracy again in operation. But this is where the flight was landing in Honolulu. I do want to tell you something else, a couple things before we have these little prayer cards with our picture on them, and you can use these pictures to scare mice out of your house. Or your teepee or whatever. And they work really good. We've never had anybody report back to us that it didn't work. Never. So they must work really well. And it's got our contact information on the back. And I'm going to tell you about a new ministry we have. And that is, for a long time, we've had a few things on YouTube. But now we have quite a few more, and we're adding more all the time. And so if you enjoyed me for a half an hour or so, go on there and you get to watch me for 5 more minutes or maybe 10 or something. I'm trying to make these lessons kind of short, and I've just done the 6 lessons, and I'm doing one more on this subject, and that is how God has revealed himself to us. No matter where you are in the world, Papua New Guinea with all those languages, the Badlands or the Black Hills or the inner city, wherever you are, God has spoken to you through creation. And the Bible teaches that. That's one of the ways we can know that there's a God who cares about us. There's a God who's supplying our needs, who loves us and has provided in this world the things we need for health and life. And so creation, God has spoken to us through our conscience. I noticed in New Guinea where people that, and you notice it wherever you go, people don't go out in the broad daylight very often and try to steal somebody else's purse. They're kind of sneaking around or something, you know. Or if they're committing adultery with another man's wife, they're sneaking about it, trying to keep it all covered up. Why? Because they know it's wrong. God put within us a spark of his image that tells us that certain things are right and certain things are wrong. Now, we can spoil our conscience until it's not a good guide. The old saying is, let your conscience be your guide. Well, what about a mass murderer? Should he let his conscience be his guide? He doesn't have a conscience left. So we need to let our Bible be our guide, but God has put a conscience in us to help start us in the right direction to some extent. But anyhow, God has reached out to us in different ways, and that's what those lessons are about. And there's some songs on there. There's some aviation things. And so if you look up my name, David Hersman, on YouTube, you'll find some of those lessons, and there's some playlists and so forth. Now, I know that we passed out cards like this before here, and I also know that some people from this group changed your address and your stuff came back to us later. So if you've changed your address since you've seen us last or something, fill out a new card if you'd like to get newsletters from us, or if you include an email address, or this doesn't say this, but if you put who you are on Facebook, just put FB in your name, we'll befriend you on there, and maybe you'll receive little links to our YouTube stuff. Every day our YouTube ministry is still reaching Papua New Guinea. And many times I post something new and the first response I get is from Papua New Guinea. So anyhow, Jordan, you want to pass these out? And everybody's welcome to take one. Beautiful picture taken in Papua New Guinea. And there's more in the box. I think that's probably enough there. But so anybody have any question or anything before we turn the service back over to Sister Kelly? We appreciate the privilege to come here and talk to you and worship with you and sing together. We've enjoyed this, and we've been looking forward to it. And
Crystal wanted to sing that song.
oh, we're part of the family that's been born again.
But do we need the other kids, some of them to come or not?
We can. This is a song our family